Hey everybody, it is a beautiful sunny day and it is 65 degrees. So I got some great news. Finally, after what seems like forever, since I lost my money, I lost my cryptocurrency back in 2018, and now it's 2024 going on to 2025. Basically, I've been dealing with certain debts for 7 years now. And it is almost 7. It has been a crazy ride because I tried paying it back instead of declaring bankruptcy like I should have at the very beginning. It would have sped the process up so greatly. But here we are, we live and we learn, and oh boy, have I learned a lot. So today's video, it's finally some good news. I have been approved for a credit card. That's right, I feel like an 18-year-old again. Woo! I got approved for my first credit card from none other than Capital One. Capital One is here to the rescue because it's not Credit One. It's not, a whole bunch of these other subprime banks. It's an actual institution. Some consider Capital One subprime, but they're fine. They're fine. They're not the best in the world, but they're fine. And the APR isn't like 35, 36%. And then also annual fees of, $200, $300 like some of these cards. I'm finally starting to get advertisements again. Hey, buy a car. Hey, here's your credit card. Hey, here's your personal loan offer. My bankruptcy was discharged in August. I started my process in May. I really started it in 2023. And that was a chapter 13. And at first it went from $750 monthly payments to then 500 monthly payments to eventually I couldn't afford to pay. And we switched it to a 7. And the reason for that, incomes changed. And at first I wasn't able to qualify for a 7, but the 7 is the golden key. Now, not all my debts have been removed. My student debt still remains. I understand. I don't have to pay until I finish college, which is in approximately 6 months or so. So I do have to plan around that. Now, that is more manageable. With this, I had like $45,000 of debt wiped. I still have some debts in Poland, but whatever. I don't have to worry about those now. We'll deal with those in a couple of years. Some of those will be wiped out by then, and we are fine. There's statute of limitations and whatnot. We have been dealing with super high interest loans and credit cards, and a car that was almost 28%, $900, almost $900 payment. That was killing me. Now all that is basically gone. It is a clean slate. I only have a couple $100 left that I owe my lawyer for the bankruptcy payment plan. I got a little bit of money I owe my dentist, a little personal loans here and there, but it's a fraction of what was basically discharged. So it's a fresh start. And at first I was trying to just pre-qualify. Didn't want to risk, any hard inquiries, and I was getting rejected. Capital One was one of the banks I burned. I burned Credit One. I burned Mission Lane. Mission Lane has a once in a lifetime policy. And out of the subprime banks, Mission Lane is actually probably one of the better ones, I'd say. Alongside Credit One, yeah, it's not the best in the world, but they're fine. They're way better than so many others out there. So there's entire levels to this. There's like super bad banks where they'll just destroy your credit even if you make your payments on time sometimes because they're so, I don't know, their policies are crazy. So I am thankful I don't have to deal with any of that because I don't even have money to put onto a secured card. Ultimately, I want to rebuild my credit, at least get into the 600 as fast as possible. I'm in the 500s. Well, now I'm approaching the very high 500s, and in some standards, you could say even low, very, very, very low 600s Vantage score, but a real FICO scores, FICO Auto 8, FICO, if you're trying to get a mortgage, there's a different FICO score for that. If you try to get a car, there's a different FICO score for that. In this case, I am trying to rebuild my credit score before we switch apartments because this apartment keeps raising their prices, and it's a studio. It's too small. It's a very expensive area. It shouldn't be. It's overpriced. That's what I'm trying to say. So you need good credit for better insurance rates. You need good credit for finding just a normal apartment, not a crappy apartment. You need good credit just for normal things. And also in the future, if there's ever any emergencies and you don't have an emergency fund because you're rebuilding from all of this, it's good to just have a credit card as a backup that's not going to charge you insane amounts of rates. So with all that said, I was very happy that after multiple tries, pre-qualified doesn't really do anything. Capital One, after only 2 months, decided, yep, you know what? Here you are again. And it's only a $500 limit, but I'm going to make sure every single payment is on time. I'm going to try and keep utilization low. All the same tricks I used before back in 2017 to get an Amex and some other great cards, and everything went great. And I was in the 700s, and then crypto crashed, and obviously that wasn't so great. But I am going to take it slow, steady. I was also approved because in a bankruptcy, you have to surrender your vehicle. They still haven't picked it up, but I did surrender my vehicle. Technically, you know, it's not, I don't have to pay for it. I haven't been paying it for the past couple months. It's already been discharged as part of the bankruptcy. It's not going to impact my credit any more than it already did. So in that case, I needed a new vehicle, and we actually got a GM approved me for a Chevy, an electric vehicle Chevy. And now I have free charging at work. I actually signed up for General Motors insurance. And even if you don't have a GM vehicle, actually try this out. This is my tip of the day. Try GM insurance. I didn't even know they had an insurance company. I gave it to a couple of my clients as a tip, and they saw massive reductions in their payments. So from Progressive, which was previously the cheapest out of 50 different companies for me, GM undercut that by $120 per month, which is huge. So I do have a payment now, but it isn't as crazy as I thought it would be. I got approved for a vehicle, yes, with my wife having to co-sign, but that in itself is like, oh my gosh, Volvo wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole. There's a whole bunch of places that wouldn't want to touch me. Chevy, even for most of their vehicles, it was only for this EV that they're more okay with bad credit. So I had some advice there I work in car sales. I had some advice there from a manager who used to work for Chevrolet. This is the vehicle. If you're trying to get into a car, they will probably approve you on this. And it was tough. I barely got approved, but we got approved. And now after that, credit card got approved. And at this point, it's just make your payments on time. I just made my first payment on time for the car. I have made the minimum payment already for the car, but the statement hasn't been there. And at this point, over the next year or two, that's it. Maybe I can get another card. That's fine, whatever, nothing crazy. The other one I'd really like is Discover. Those two are the best starter cards. And then maybe a secured card to graduate later from one of the banks I actually really like. And we should be good at that point. Because ultimately, number one is if you have good credit, then it's super easy to start a business and have business credit. Without good credit, you are screwed. Sorry, goodbye. And if there's any emergencies, it's super tough. And even if you never use credit, it's still being used against you for insurance rates, whether that's health insurance, car insurance, auto insurance, all of these insurance rates. And that difference, whether you have bad credit or good credit, can hurt you in terms of thousands of dollars per year. So with that said, I just wanted to say I'm so happy that we're finally starting over. We're going to take things slow, and it feels like a new fresh start officially now. Bankruptcy's been discharged. We got our first credit card. We're going to build and go up from there. Because ultimately the end goal is hopefully a couple years from now when I have a good income and I have my emergency fund and I have some money saved apart and everything's fine. My credit's good enough where I can get a mortgage for a cheap property that I could fix up and live there. And because ultimately number one expense for me right now is this rent. It's crazy. $1,500 for a studio. That's not like luxury. It's like a 1980s building. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sure there's probably like black mold behind the walls because I mean there's some issues. I don't know. I certainly don't want to stay there. I hate not having an in-unit washer dryer. I'm sorry. In Poland, almost every single place I went to, even the cheapest ones, in-unit washer dryers. Well, it cost me like $5 to do one load of laundry, actually 6. So, and it feels dirty, it's like a community. I don't know. I'd rather have my own stuff. So yeah, I just want my own little townhome. And I looked with mortgage, with insurance, with all of this stuff, it would be cheaper than renting. Well, why can't I? Because I don't have good credit. And you can, as a first-time home buyer with the FHA loan, 3.5% down. Some of these apartments and townhomes, very few, but there are a couple that are in good neighborhoods and they're under $150,000. Maybe like 145 or 149,999, but I don't care, whatever, that's fine. And that puts me for a 30-year loan with 3.5 and a couple things here and there, a couple of grants and assistance, whatnot. You're fine. It's all together with taxes. It's right there for what I'm paying for rent, except at that point, it's mine. It's all mine, and I can Airbnb it or rent it out or do whatever, or, it appreciates and I have equity and I can sell it in the future. And that's where money's made from, real estate. So anyways, just wanted to share that with you guys. We're on the very building blocks of starting up the empire again. And that's pretty much that. Also, I'm having a decent month in car sales now. So hopefully we can finish it off strong and start saving some money. I have invested some money all the way back in May, only like a couple $100 into a page that I'm now trying to flip for an extra couple $100. Hey, an extra couple $100 is always there, and if not, I can monetize it. So things are starting to slowly look up. It takes forever, but we're getting there. American dream's still so far away. I mean, there's still a lot of things that aren't perfect, but I'm excited. So happy thoughts ahead. Have a great rest of your day. That was my update. Take care.